You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And Keith Cheatham. Oh, guys, we finally did it. We're live. Can you believe it? Here we are. Facebook Live, YouTube out there. Oh, gosh. Feels so good to share this with you all out there.
It's
all of our listeners are watchers now.
It's something different. I don't know. It's very exciting.
It is.
We've been going strong for over 3 years doing this podcast.
Yeah, we have.
And it's nice to know that it is evolving and we are branching out. And I mean, I'm really excited about this.
I am too. Sean, how does it feel, man?
Kind of speechless. I don't know. It's different.
It hasn't.
I don't know why. The first time being on here with you guys like 2 years ago was pretty awesome, but this is just, I don't know, there's just something different about it.
Something completely
it's
different.
another level. So
I know it's been such a long time. We've been doing this now for about 3-4 years.
People have been able to hear our voices for so long.
Yeah.
Now that
Now
they
they
can
get
put
to-
faces to it, and
Sorry.
now they can look at us and be like, "Ugh, what?"
Sorry about that.
Honestly, yeah, truth be told. Well, here's the other thing, too, that we got to really kind of tell our listeners is that, you all can please like and share, obviously.
Yes.
We don't have anybody else.
We need them.
Who's like really helping us out here. So if you could comment, that'd be great. We can go back and read them. We're not going to probably respond too much throughout
On the
Yeah.
show.
this production.
Hashtag
because,
one day.
Yeah, one day
Yeah.
we'll
One
have
day.
somebody that'll hopefully be able to help us with that, and
Right, yeah.
maybe get in here and say, "Hey, so-and-so
But you
said
never
this."
know. They could comment on
Criticize
something.
us.
They could comment on something we say in the show, and we see it, and then next week
we might
can,
see it later
You know, we
and
might
address it,
discuss it.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Also on Facebook and YouTube, little higher quality on YouTube, but to really follow us on YouTube, we need you to subscribe, not just like, but
Yes,
subscribe.
please
Click
do
the
that.
little bell in the corner there,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
that you
Yeah.
get notifications when we're going live.
Yes,
And
Absolutely,
you will never miss a show.
absolutely. And Keith, before we get into our review, because usually we start off every week just jumping right into the review.
Usually, yeah.
Why don't you explain a little bit, because this is our first live review.
Oh man.
Now, granted, we're not going to be doing like full featured edit reviews because, hey, we're just getting started here.
Yeah.
But this is actually a special movie to start with because it is a highly rated movie. And it's
it's-
one we recommend, definitely.
It's just, because used to, I'd come in, I would record the review before the podcast. We'd do the podcast, you'd edit everything together. And now it's like we have to be even further ahead for the live show.
Mhm.
And I was really excited that this movie was the one that was our first live, just because this movie is part of one of one of my favorite animated
Yes.
series.
Absolutely.
I have had a fondness of this series ever since the first one came out. Me and Neil, who our buddy who lives in Boston now,
Who's
we,
tuning in tonight
he
on
is
our
tuning
live
in.
show.
Shout out to Neil.
Shout out to Neil. Shout out
we-
to all our watchers. Oh gosh, I can't wait to go through and actually
It-
send them all a
It was
great.
just
thank
really
you.
random. I don't know why exactly we chose that movie. We used to go see like a movie every year for our birthdays because they're right around the same time, and sometimes we do two movies. And I don't even remember if that was one of them for our birthdays. I just remember for some reason we went and saw How to Train Your Dragon, the first one in 3D and IMAX,
Mhm.
and it was just, it was more than the fact that the 3D was amazing. And usually I hate 3D movies because my eyes aren't that great, and then 3D does nothing for me. But not just the animation in the 3D, but the movie itself was a really awesome movie from DreamWorks of all animations. Usually when you talk about heavy-hitting animated movies, it's Disney and Pixar,
Pixar, yeah.
and
Right.
the
right.
other. It's not that DreamWorks has. They do have some terrible movies, but they've had Shrek and Madagascar and Kung Fu Panda, and those were all they successful. But How to Train Your Dragon is just kind of like on a different level from any other movie that DreamWorks has. So of course our review tonight is of the third movie, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, and I just was really pumped about that.
Yeah. So
you
why
know.
don't we go ahead and jump right into our first ever live review.
It is very uncommon for Hollywood to stick the landing when it comes to wrapping up a film series. With the exception of a few critically praised series, many film sagas in Hollywood are either ran into the ground, have sequels that don't live up to their predecessors, or in the case of many trilogies, have third films that are either lackluster or poorly wrap up the story in a satisfying manner. In this day and age, when Disney and Pixar reign supreme as the forefront of animated movies, it's both odd and refreshing to see an animated trilogy from another studio, in this case DreamWorks, that not only surpasses some of Pixar's best, but sticks the landing with a brilliant end to an already brilliant series. No one could have predicted the underrated hit that would be How to Train Your Dragon. It's not that DreamWorks hasn't made good movies in the past, it's just that they were few and far between, and none on the same level as How to Train Your Dragon. Here we are 9 years later, and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World continues to not only raise the bar for the series, but wrap the whole story up in an emotional and satisfying manner. Written and directed by Dean DeBlois, who has directed and helped write all three films in the series, the third How to Train Your Dragon film is a near-perfect culmination of all three movies. With 4 to 5 years between each movie, and a single vision carried out over the years by DeBlois, you could tell a lot of dedication and attention to detail went into the making of the entire series, and this film specifically, as it serves to be the final entry. The story picks up several years after the second, with Hiccup, again voiced by Jay Baruchel, now in full swing as the Chief of Burke. He has fully realized his dream of turning Berk into a utopia for Vikings and dragons, with him and his friends making regular raids of poaching ships to free dragons from other Viking clans. When the heads of the other clans grow tired of losing to the village of Berk, they enlist Grimmel the Grizzly, voiced by F. Murray Abraham, a legendary dragon hunter who believed himself to have accomplished hunting the Night Fury dragons to extinction. Upon learning Hiccup's dragon could well be the last surviving male Night Fury, Grimmel agrees to take down Berk in order to accomplish his goal of driving dragons to extinction. The film is beautiful in more ways than one, with fluid and gorgeous animation full of real textures and eye-popping color. Cinematography, as in the previous films, is mesmerizing, with wide and sweeping shots and stellar flight and battle choreography. One thing the Blu-ray has successfully accomplished since the very first film was creating a real world with tangible physics even amidst its animated and fantasy setting. Aside from the brilliant animation, the film packs in beauty in a symbolic way as well. All three films have been successful at creating a fun film for the kiddos while packing in serious themes and emotional cues, with the second upping the ante and the third really tugging the heartstrings to provide a satisfying conclusion. The film is a technical masterpiece. It is not perfect, however. Voice acting is still brilliant, with these actors knowing their characters as well as themselves at this point, but the story does miss a few beats here and there. The villain is definitely the most interesting and fun to watch of the series, but unfortunately has a very generic motivation. Despite these small discrepancies, the film is the best of the trilogy, which is saying a lot. It will definitely entertain the children while providing a lot for the adults as well. It's a solid end to a great series. I give How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World 3.5 out of 4 stars.
So 3.5 out of 4 stars.
3.5 out of 4 stars, absolutely. Yes,
I concur.
It was
I was
fantastic.
gonna say, yeah,
fantastic film.
both of you all saw this. I have not
I've seen it
this one yet.
twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sean. First, took Sawyer.
Took Sawyer
yeah,
to see it. Yeah.
Then I hadn't seen it yet, and I asked him if he'd be interested in it again. And I mean, obviously,
Well, I
it
got to
was
see it in
a good
IMAX
movie.
with you, which was
Oh yes,
fantastic. Yeah.
Anytime you get to see anything in IMAX, so, but
Oh,
especially like because this movie looks so good, anyways. I mean, the anime. I mean, I was complimenting before we got into the review, just the animation in the first.
Yeah.
And I told you before the podcast began, I actually went back and watched the first two because they're released in
Right.
4K now. So I
Yeah.
watched them both in 4K, and I was just mesmerized about it. Like the animation, the first one was good, but like going back and watching it even in 4K, like it doesn't look bad, but it's nowhere on the same level. And I'm like, man, it's crazy to think that over the course of about 9 years, the detail in the animation was just even that much more impressive. I
Right.
mean, because watching the first movie and you see like the fire, because they actually used because it was animated. A lot of movies will use like propane flames and stuff because it's easier to control, but it doesn't look as real as like an actual like wildfire or
Yeah.
fire spreading. So with it being animation, they actually like filmed fire and like used like physics and stuff to imitate that and make it look like something more realistic than just propane flame in a normal movie. Seeing that detail in the first movie always impressed me, and then like Sean pointed out in the third one, he's like, "Man, the fire's amazing." I was like, "I know it is."
Well, it's not just the fire, but the we agreed the environments almost looks like animation set on a real backdrop,
the-
like
really?
live
the-
backdrop.
Yeah.
The dirt,
It's
the
insane
gravel,
how real
the
it looks.
mountains, trees, grass.
Yeah.
I mean, like I told Sean, like the peach fuzz on his face,
Yeah.
like where he's
Yeah.
growing a beard, was
Yes.
just like, it's like that's crazy because I mean it's all computer animated.
Well, and I
but-
mean, would you not say that that's kind of what that's becoming the mastery now of? I think CG is blending. We've always thought this of Pixar in general.
oh yeah,
is
Pixar's
how
done an
well
amazing job with that.
they've done well blending almost real world elements.
Yes.
with
Yeah.
the animated feel,
Adding
and look and
texture
feel.
to animation, yeah.
Yes,
Sean made the joke, the dragons in this movie, while they have like cartoonish designs, like they have bigger heads and disproportionate bodies, they look more realistic than the creatures in Avatar. Like the
Yeah.
scale,
The
the
dragon,
scales,
yeah.
the leather.
Hey,
and I mean,
There's
yeah,
one part of the
Avatar
movie
is
where
older.
where they light
Right.
up colorfully, like almost like luminescent
Yeah.
in the dark,
Yeah.
and they resemble the patterns and stuff on the what are they called in Avatar?
Pandora.
Yeah,
Well, that's the planet.
whatever
but,
those things are called.
the Navi.
Well, no, the dragons are called something.
Oh, I don't,
Whatever
I
the
don't
know.
creatures.
I don't know.
Nobody
Whatever
knows.
James
Nobody
Cameron.
I don't
came up with.
exactly.
But
Although
yeah,
I don't
it
want to
looks-
I don't want to throw Cameron a bone, but I
No.
mean that was over a decade.
Yeah, but
It's
it
been
looks
10 years.
better. And one of the things with How to Train Your Dragon that I appreciate with animated movies, like you're talking about, the animation and the texture and the detail is like from the first movie to this one, you can see a very steady progression. And I do feel like Toy Story, while they're while the animation is better in Toy Story 3 than in the first one, I feel like the characters in those films don't really show the attention to detail,
the progression,
because they're kind of the same. In here, the scales of the dragons, like we said, the environments, the flames, even in the characters' faces, there's such a big step up from the first movie to this one, and I really appreciate. Kung Fu Panda doesn't do that. The third one looks just like the first one. This movie definitely
you could tell
raised the bar.
A lot of just a lot of dedication went into the movie, which, I mean, Dean DeBlois made all 3 movies, so I mean he was on board for the entire thing, which I think helps when you have somebody that's passionate about his creation. Right. He started it and he saw it through to the end. And I mean, going back like to the stubble, like you said, like the third movie is only takes place like a year after like the second movie. Yeah. So like he has stubble in the second movie, but the level of like detail between like the stubble he has in the second movie and the stubble in the third movie is just like night and day. And I mean, it just kind of blows my mind that like, you know, that within like 4 years, it's like they can make that progression. And that is, like you said, something that animation has been pushing the bar on, but I mean, it's something that we see from like Pixar, not so much some of these other companies. And the fact that DreamWorks has the ability to do this, yet doesn't.
And I will say, I mean, even though I haven't seen this one, I've seen the first one. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about the entire series from you two. The thing is, I mean, it's always been kind of ever since Pixar set the bar. Yeah, all these other companies have had to try to catch up. Yeah. And DreamWorks has had, I mean, their fair share of hits in terms of like, I mean, Shrek when they got on the map with Shrek. Yeah. But the thing is they've never. It's always been that they've been just behind Pixar. I really think. I mean, we've even talked about this with Disney Animation Studios, which is not Pixar, but with Disney Animation Studios and all these other ones, it's like DreamWorks used to make CG films just for the pocketbook, just to make a bang for their buck, and they knew it was going to drive kids and families to go see it. I think we're starting to finally see them take this seriously enough that each iteration they make, I mean, especially with the How to Train Your Dragon series, the care and devotion they put into that, we're starting to finally see, I think, them reach that level, that caliber of Pixar, but even go above it.
I think it's one of those things where when you realize that, I mean, any animated film you make is going to make cash because kids are, if you make it something flashy and showy that kids will like, they're going to want to see it, so you're going to make money. And a lot of animation studios do just that. It's not, they don't put
Illumination.
Yeah, Illumination is a big one.
Exactly.
Blue Sky Studios.
Blue Sky is terrible.
Yeah,
Ice Age and all that.
Well, a perfect example. Exactly. It's like those, and then every once in a while you have these small little hits, which I'm not. Who does like Peanuts?
That was Blue Sky.
That was Blue Sky. They did
that's
that
like,
honestly,
the first Ice Age and Peanuts are like the only two Blue Sky Studio movies that I think are any good.
Most of the time, it's just a cash grab.
Yeah. Most of the time, and that's the sad thing. But when you realize, like Pixar, that and with Disney itself, I mean, that was something Walt Disney founded the company on, was that you don't have to talk down to children. You can make good movies that are accessible to everyone. And when you do that, I mean, you're going to drive the kids in regardless, but if you drive the adults in too, you're making twice as much money.
Yes. So, I mean, Up. I can't even tell you how many times I saw the meme. Inside Out is fantastic. Gosh, yeah, I get you. I mean, talks about when you're tearing up in an animated movie.
Let's talk about that. Besides the animation, I mean, me and Keith were both sniffling at the end of this movie, and I lost it when I was seeing it with my son. Yeah. Just because the end of the movie does feature him with his son and one of his children, and it's pretty emotional. And when we talk about Toy Story 3, the end of that movie, it gets you in the feels, but this movie does a really good job too at several points in the movie, but the end, especially the way they wrapped it up with the story and the emotion, was pretty impactful.
What I love so much about this is because it really did wrap things up in a really satisfying manner, because they have, throughout the movie, there are actual like callbacks to like the first film that like are little things, and they were like jokes kind of in the first film, and then they're in this, like they're callbacks, and it's like a similar joke, but it has like more heart to it because they know they're calling back to when you first met the characters. And like they would do little moments like that, like Toothless drawing, like using a stick to draw in the sand, and like he did a bunch of random scribbles in the first movie when Hiccup stepped on the scribbles, and then in this one when he's trying to attract the attention of this female dragon, he actually makes like this perfect drawing. It starts to grow at her when she steps at it and then holds off, and it was like this little moment that's a throwback to the first that I was like, man, this is really good, really well done. Yeah. And like there's more emotional moments similar to that one that are in this movie that like throw back to the
I mean,
series.
with it being the closing chapter of this trilogy, I mean, for one, like you said, the hats off and the homages to the earlier films, but also, I mean, it was like with Toy Story 3, the fact that you literally saw these characters grow up in front of your eyes in the movies in which they came out.
Yeah, I mean,
they placed them perfectly
you
apart.
see this boy go from just a fumbly,
Little
clumsy
kid,
boy to a king.
Right.
And it's pretty amazing to kind of follow along his story and see him and his relationship with the girl develop into, I'm not going to spoil it, but, they end up together. Come on.
Wow, you spoiled it.
Well, I mean, just to see him, like, because it's animated, so it's all scripted and made up, obviously, but it's still, like, powerful to see, the story of this, like you said, little kid who was a misfit starting out, finds his place and becomes, exactly what, his village Burton needed. I mean, they needed that different mindset for them to evolve and to continue on and not just, go extinct, because, I mean, you can't survive doing the same thing over and over and never growing. And, I mean,
it had an important, the messages in it, too.
Throughout all three movies, I mean, have, like, similar themes, which makes sense. And, I mean, it does. I mean, all three of them have powerful messages, I feel like, and emotional moments. I mean, especially like I said, the second one always gets me because a very significant character passes away, and then in this one there's so many like kind of callbacks and flashbacks to that character still teaching like things that he taught Hiccup as a boy, and I'm just like, man, like those parts I told Sean, it's like they got me, because like they were. It's one thing to just have those moments, but when they actually have life lessons that
when they
like,
resonate,
strike home and are true,
exactly.
And I'm just like, man, this is really well done. Yeah,
and part of that goes into the passion that the voice actors are putting into it too, because like Jay Baruchel, is that how you pronounce his last name? Baruchel?
Baruch. I think it's Baruch.
You know
I
what?
don't know.
But he does a great job, and he's got kind of a distinct voice. Like,
he does.
You know him.
Yes.
In anything that he's
isn't
in.
she? That's is that? Well, she's out of my league. Was that the same guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, all of them. I mean, the actors in this are
Gerard
actually
Butler.
Gerard Butler's a big name actor.
I forgot he was in
and
this.
his performance is always amazing. Kate Blanchett is in she's the second and the third one. She's not in the first, but she's in the last.
Oh wait, no. Yeah, okay, she wasn't in the first.
Yeah, she wasn't in the first, but she's in the second and the third. I mean, that's impressive. America Ferrera is impressive.
Is it America Ferrera?
Is that it? Is that how you pronounce
Okay,
it?
I guess I don't know. But
It's not America.
America Ferrera.
Yeah.
Ferrari.
But yeah, that's she gives a good performance. I mean, all of them I think are really impressive. Like on a level that, because it's hard to like a lot of actors cannot voice act.
Yeah.
So when you find ones that can, it always impresses me, because
that's always the trick behind an animated
because it is
film.
a different style. I mean, they don't think it until it happens, but I mean, I've seen a lot of interviews with actors that realize it's like, man, it's a whole new ball game, because you have no one to act off of. You have to do everything in that booth by yourself,
like Margaret's Monsters.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I was
# Margaret.
Margaret's Monsters, which you can also find here on the Red Moon podcast if you go back a few episodes.
True.
Yeah. Anytime you want to check that out, go search through our feed. So 3.5 out of 4 stars for How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Absolutely a must-see. If you've already seen the others, but if not, pick up the second or the first one if you haven't seen either one of those.
Oh, yeah,
them
definitely.
first.
I would see
Something
them.
else to throw out
And then
there
go see
is
this
with the
one.
release of this movie, you can now get the first 2 movies in 4K Blu-ray, which look
is what Keith
fantastic.
did.
Yeah,
Yes.
I did. I bought them both because they look awesome.
They look
Yeah.
beautiful. But you know what
They're pretty.
doesn't look beautiful?
What's
oh
that?
no.
Sadly, maybe the future of Hollywood.
Oh, no.
Gosh, it looks so bleak, guys.
It's burning
Does
to
the future of
ground.
Hollywood ever look good?
Well, fair question. The fact is that we've got a battle brewing, okay?
Yeah.
And that battle
You saw it coming.
is from Mr. famed director Steven Spielberg, bringing it to the front lines and taking his argument to the Academy.
This is a war he's been trying to start for a couple of years now, and now
Yeah.
it's finally starting to pick up some steam. And I don't know.
Okay, let's first break down the fact that Roma won a lot of awards at the Oscars
4?
this year. Four Academy.
Everything
No,
in
was it
its-
4 or 3?
I thought it won for every category it was nominated.
No, because it was
no.
nominated for
It
Best
didn't
Picture.
get-
Was
yeah,
its
yeah.
4th, and it didn't win that.
So
It
it
won
got 3 out of 4.
Best
Right, okay.
director, best foreign film, best original
cinematography.
screenplay, and cinematography. So yeah, it's 4.
Was
No,
it?
it
No, it
didn't
didn't
get
win Best
screenplay.
Screenplay. No.
No, that was Green Book and
Spike Lee.
We're
Yeah,
looking
Spike Lee.
terrible on our first live show.
Yeah,
No,
that was Spike.
well, and the only reason was because I checked Netflix's Twitter recently, and
Yeah.
I saw they obviously have this huge banner up there that's promoting the fact that it's like winner of 3 Academy Awards.
Yeah, well, rightfully so.
Right.
Well, yeah.
And that's the thing.
And honestly, the 3 categories that won, I would agree with. I mean, the cinematography was amazing. I haven't seen any other foreign films, but it was a good movie, so I believe, that it deserved that one.
Well,
and then,
we
of course,
even said, though, we were even talking about how we thought best foreign language film was kind of
it was
a-
kind of
a
like, you're
runner-up.
not going to get best picture,
Yeah.
so we'll give you
Exactly.
best foreign.
And so
Yeah.
it was kind of a situation where we almost knew that in and of itself, it was not going to be Best Picture winner precisely because the Academy, we thought, had it out for it to begin with.
Right.
And I really do think that Spielberg himself, and not just Spielberg, but I don't want to say his cronies because I don't really have any other names.
His
but basically,
cronies.
his Academy elite
Yeah.
that he would
Yeah.
go out and because obviously they Netflix got one of the best publicists in the business to really spearhead a campaign to promote Roma throughout the awards season, and they were really wanting this to be one of the first films that put them on the map as a streaming service that made gave them clout. I mean, we've already seen this throughout the last few years.
Yeah.
With them kind of coming up through the ranks and trying to promote themselves this
not
way.
even just Netflix, but
Amazon Prime,
with,
exactly.
Manchester by the Sea.
Manchester by the
Yeah.
Sea. Yes. I mean, so the thing is we knew that at some point
Yeah.
this was going to happen where when the streaming services got movies that were going to be nominated for the bigger prizes.
When they got big enough to really start getting noticed,
Yep.
yeah, certain people were not going to be happy about it.
Now, see,
a la Steven Spielberg.
Right. So Spielberg has basically come out instead that he is wanting to change the rules. He went to the Academy Board, and he's wanting to change how the Academy chooses the film or it does the film selection process for the nominations.
Right.
Basically to oust any of the streaming services.
Yeah.
He still thinks theatrically films need to be released, and primarily that's how they need to be viewed. So even if it's for a short, because the rules state, obviously, and this is what Netflix did, they played by the rules.
Yeah.
They've released their films theatrically for a short period of time, then they release them on the streaming service after that period of time is over. I think it's like 2-3 weeks
Yeah.
in certain cities that it has to run in certain theaters. So once that run is over, they release it on the streaming service, and then of course they promote it like crazy, and then they stir up all this buzz, and then they spend the big bucks going out and promoting
see
it.
no problem with that
Right?
whatsoever.
And it's like, so at the end of the day, it's like, really, can you blame Netflix for playing by the rules, but also saying, look, and this is really the argument that it comes down to. I feel like Spielberg's kind of coming from a more technical perspective of how it's been done in the past, but you even have directors like Ava
He's
DuVernay.
also kind of a traditionalist too.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
He's so fun, which I understand. I get his point too in that I love going to the theater. I understand completely, the thrill of wanting to sit down and have like that huge experience on the massive screen, the sound. I mean, all of that is just an experience you get nowhere else but the theater. So I understand why he cherishes that, but at the same time, you can't knock, streaming services and the future.
If they're making good movies, then what does it matter?
Exactly.
The awards are about the films and the filmmakers. It doesn't have anything to do with who made them. It's all about why they were made and what the message was and how well the film was made. And
Exactly.
That's what they should be awarded on.
Well-
And if he makes a better film, then he should win, rightfully so. But if they've got the better picture, then I don't understand it.
Exactly.
I don't know what his
that's-
fear is.
That's really what the argument has been.
Yeah.
The argument, even Netflix responded in that way.
Yeah.
Netflix pretty much came out and was like, listen, here's what we're really about. What we're really about is just creating, breathtaking
Exceptional
pieces of
content.
art,
Yeah.
exceptional content that's going to push the medium forward and making great movies and pushing them out there for more people to see.
That's the real
how can
thing.
you argue with that?
That's the real purpose here, right? I mean, to have push better movies out there for people to see. I mean, what's more important? I mean, people seeing these quality films or it being on a theater screen where a lot of smaller films that are great get lost because
Yes.
you have when
Yeah.
you have so many blockbusters, when you have Avengers out there,
Yeah.
people aren't thinking, "Oh, I'm going to go see this small
Chappaquiddick
independent."
or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, when you have something like Netflix where it's free and you could sit down at home, it's like, oh, this looks interesting.
Yeah.
I'll tune into that. And you actually get to see things you otherwise may not have gotten to enjoy. And for Spielberg to come out against that, it's kind of just like, I don't know if he just doesn't get it, but I mean, it's like,
Well, I think it's like you said, he's a traditionalist,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
also think it has to do with I know his fear is of, maybe
maybe
it's
becoming
somehow
obsolete or
irrelevant.
Well, irrelevant, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we just promoted a film that is beautiful to see in IMAX, and we've promoted Movie Pass back before its debacle.
If you can, go see it in IMAX.
Yes, I mean, we've promoted ways in which, to me, it's definitely there's nothing like going to the theater and seeing it in that kind of spectacle.
I agree.
And especially when it's a kind of movie for that purpose.
I would like to see movies like Roma in the theater.
Absolutely.
But
when it wins winner of best cinematography.
But yeah, if they're following the guidelines that were set before them, then shut up. That's just kind of how I feel. But I mean, I agree to a certain extent. I do feel like for them to qualify, they should be in theaters. And if they're going to be in theaters for 2 weeks, then that's fine.
Right.
But, I mean, I wish Roma or a movie like that, Beast of No Nation, I wish that would come to an AMC theater near me so that I can go to the theater and watch it the way it was meant to be watched.
Right.
It wasn't filmed. Most film isn't made to be watched in your living room.
Right.
It's made to be watched on a silver screen.
Well,
and that's what I want to see. But
so
I don't think that should completely disqualify them for an award when the awards are based on the film themselves, not on
how you watch it,
who put them out, and how long they were in a theater. That shouldn't matter. If you can get on YouTube and make a better movie than Steven Spielberg, then you should get the award.
And that to me is the bigger picture, and this is what we've talked about. I mean, Netflix is creating. I mean, they've also backed this up, and not only them. For one, a lot of people have come out and said, when you're talking about movies like Roma specifically, and Ava DuVernay coming out defending them, saying, look, Netflix has been primarily the case and the reason why you've had a stronger a stronger presence of minority filmmakers. Diverse films coming to the forefront because they offer a platform where they're willing to take a risk, or they're willing to say, you know what, this wouldn't get a platform or a big national
millions
release.
of dollars in debt, or hundreds of millions of dollars in debt.
But I mean, they give them a chance where big production studios otherwise wouldn't give them that opportunity because they're more concerned with, they have to make sure they make a profit, and if they don't think that film's going to make a profit, they're like, well, we can't do this. Whereas Netflix, having subscribers and that built-in base, has a little bit more wiggle room to take that chance. But I think the biggest fear here, like you said, because you mentioned the YouTube aspect, is they get like Spielberg and Academy begin to fear, well, where does it end? If you let Netflix is like, do we have to start awarding YouTube? Do we have to start awarding direct-to-video movies?
Right.
Because if you make a movie that goes direct to DVD, but it's a better movie than Saving Private Ryan, why can't it get an award?
Exactly, and we brought that up before. I mean, as aspiring filmmakers ourselves and doing all of this on our own, it's like we're finally at a point where it's like we've put in the risk, we put in the time, the money to want to go out and pursue these dreams. It's like, who's to say that with whether it's our fan base or whoever we can muster up to get behind us to push us forward. It's like if we can muster up enough people that care about what it is we do and that invest in us in that way to support us, who's to say that we can't also make an Oscar-winning film? I mean, it's the same way as when you think about in the early 2000s. A lot of the films that were being nominated and a lot of the films that were coming to the forefront were, Paramount Vantage, Fox Searchlight. All of these smaller independent flicks, Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. These types of movies that were small budget films. And they were independent films. And the whole idea about it was, it's like film has lost its heart. Because film is going after the mass, the mass crowds of the popcorn flick or the blockbuster. And the great thing is because of that kind of indie film movement, we got some really obscure stuff, and the blockbusters got really ridiculous. We've almost seen a melding of the two come together to where you're seeing a nice blend of independent films that have substance, that aren't just so out there and abstract, and also even popcorn blockbuster flicks like the Marvel Universe that have actually started to develop stories and story arcs and cinema or storylines that actually cater to depth. And they actually have something more than just mindless action. And it's like that to me has been a positive reaction of the film industry changing based on the wants and needs of people, but also just taking a risk and saying, look, sometimes it's not just what you're going to go to the theater and see and what's most popular. And the Academy can't sit there and not say that, because hell, we've seen for the last couple years films that have won Best Picture that nobody went and saw. And it's like they supported them and backed them up. So it's like, so only the right certain kind of independent film has to come out in theaters for it to be a success and for us to reward it.
People didn't see, and that a lot of people didn't even have won
Moonlight,
Best Picture. And it's like when you have movies that make a ton of cash that people love, movies. This year's Oscars have been one of the first in years that actually had movies that not only were good but were also like viewed by mass audiences. Bohemian Rhapsody, A Star Is Born,
Black Panther was on there.
Black Panther, which
most popular film.
Yeah,
it ended up happening.
But still, there were movies that were nominated that had mass appeal, and that hasn't happened since. I mean, the early 2000s, I think, with Lord of the Rings. I mean, I can't think of the last time a major blockbuster was nominated for an Academy, like Best Picture. And that's a good thing. Like you said, it's good that we come back around to that, because I feel like Hollywood and the Academy has been so fragmented in this whole, like, we have to push this and this and this. That
we've seen it. We've talked about it multiple times on here about how often the Academy has gotten it wrong this year.
Yeah.
In the last year, they've come out bumbling with every single decision they've
backtracking
on every one of them.
And they've proven just with this Oscars alone that the things that they wanted were wrong, and the things that they had to settle for actually helped the show. So it's one of those things where, like, they can fight against Netflix, but it's that resistance to change that I think is hurting them so much.
Yes.
And if they would embrace some of these newer things and the newer generations that are coming, they would be able to attract, more viewers to the cinemas again.
Yeah, for a group of people that spout all this stuff about diversity, and I know they're talking about racial and gender diversity and all that.
I think you're right. I think it's diversity of any kind.
I mean, they're just not willing to let it branch out and be open to people other than the Hollywood elites, like Steven Spielberg.
And that's the thing. The more diverse you are, like if you go see Roma and you like it, and you see Alfonso Cuarón did that, and then it's like the next movie he has released, if it comes out in theaters, I'm going to be more interested in going to the theater and watching that movie by someone I never would have known about had it not been for Netflix.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Netflix is a tool that can help as much as they think it's going to hurt, because it can attract people to audiences. Yeah. I mean, when you have, look at Adam Sandler. I mean, they're not good movies, but when you have this deal there, he has all these movies on Netflix. If one of them were to be a comeback for Adam Sandler, it'd be amazing. And his next movie was in theaters.
Trust
it's
me.
going to drive. No, it's not.
No.
I was just an
I
example.
would love nothing more than to see Adam Sandler.
It was just an example.
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore. I just started watching the other day on Netflix.
Great.
And it really was like, man, come back, man.
Yeah, I know.
What
I don't
are
know where
you
he
doing?
Went. It was after the Zohan. He went downhill.
I think even before.
I think it was
before.
before.
I think
Little
before
Nicky.
the Zohan. Okay, Little Nicky is a terrible movie, but it makes me laugh
funny.
every time.
It is funny.
I mean, it's a
And
bad
that's-
movie.
Okay, and part of it has been like that stupid. I mean, that's the thing about Netflix is you have such a variety of content that they really are willing to serve up what a smorgasbord of just so many types of films on their platform that it's like that's the beauty of it, is that if you do give people a chance to kind of, I mean, that really is catering to whatever your needs and likes are, because you get to go on there and you
pick
get to
whatever
pick.
you want, yeah.
And so it's like when you do have films that they promote and they push, but that are of the caliber of something like Aroma, it's like it sounds weird. It's
Aroma.
Aroma.
Yeah.
Aroma.
It smells fantastic.
So gorgeous.
Yes. So it's like when you have those types of films, to me, I see a brighter future for the ability to have that avenue of smaller independent scenes being able, we have like YouTube Red. I mean, we've brought this up countless times about how there's just these, it really is opening up the door for so many different types of other independent artistry or other independent filmmakers to come forward and present their, find an avenue to present their movies to a wider audience and to be given that chance. And it's like, as long as the content, I mean, content is king. And it's like, as long as you've got something of substance and it's like people actually do tune in and want to watch it, it's like, I don't care how you get it. I mean, the thing is the artist was a fantastic film, but it was praised partly because of the fact that it was a silent film shot in, normal 4:3 aspect ratio, black and white. And I'm like, the whole point of that film was an homage back to the older days of filmmaking.
Yeah.
But if we're so hell-bent on trying to create this wave of, no, but we got to have these certain kind of standards. And it's like, Spielberg, tell me this. Why is a streaming service like Netflix or any of them such a threat to the movies you make and such a threat to the industry? And he's not provided that. It's like a screaming baby kicking and screaming about that they can't get their way.
It's
how many movies has Spielberg been nominated for recently?
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
I mean, that's why you have a bitter old man. I
Bridge of
tweeted
Spies,
out
was that the
Grumpy
last
Old Men
one?
3
Yeah, and that wasn't
should be
worthy.
about Steven Spielberg. I mean, that's he is. He's just a bitter old man that's kind of not. I'm not saying that he's getting at the end of his rope here, but he's. He hasn't done anything real productive in a while. Ready Player One was produced by him, but not directed or anything, was it?
No, it was directed.
Was it directed by him?
It was
I mean,
good,
it
but it's
wasn't-
still
it
not
wasn't phenomenal. He hasn't had a Private Ryan in a while.
Right.
And that's what I'm...
Not since Private Ryan.
That's what I'm saying. Well,
Well,
yeah,
it's
he thought
almost like-
Warhorse was going to be...
Don't even get me started on Warhorse.
And Lincoln wasn't
Lincoln
that-
was
I
good.
mean, it was okay.
I liked
but-
Lincoln, but no, it does not compare to Saving Private Ryan. Yeah.
Right. And you have, like you said, you have this avenue for independent filmmakers to get a chance at a film that no one else, I guarantee you, and I'm not saying that he went directly to Universal, I'm just using them as an example, but I would imagine Karan probably went to someone like that and said, hey, I've got a black and white film that's full of subtitles. And it's about a woman in Mexico, and I mean, I'm sure there was more to it than that, but they probably just said, oh, we can't put that in theaters and sell that.
Exactly.
But then he went to Netflix, and they said, well, yeah, sure,
yeah, and we'll promote
and
it.
now he's an Academy Award winner.
Exactly.
So that's I don't see where Steven Spielberg's issue could come from other than
Jealousy.
just jealousy. And
Well,
bitterness. I mean, really,
I think it does
deep
go
down
back.
at the core of the issue. That's what it
Yes.
is.
And I think it goes back to like what you were saying. I don't think it's necessarily. It's not just that he hasn't made a. I mean, the thing is Ready Player One was a fine movie, good movie, solid,
Good popcorn flick.
popcorn flick.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the thing with Spielberg is it's almost like his legacy has been set based on the films he's already made and the ones that we've already seen come before, where it's ushered in this new wave of directors. And now we have, I think, I look at someone like a Tarantino, and I look at a Scorsese. Those who will make films the way their style is set, they just have a set style, and they will keep making those types of films. I'm really looking forward to The Irishman.
Yeah.
But they will make films like that until the day they die. And
I'm
yet,
okay
at the
with
same
that.
time, I think you have a Spielberg complex in the sense that he's kind of at a point where it's like he's making the movies he always has been, and he's impacted the industry in such a way that it's made.
I would say that's a really good point. Like he revolutionized, like when he made, Jaws, like the first blockbuster, he changed the way people went to the cinemas.
Yes.
And I do think that's part of it because he does have, I think, that stigma where he changed the history of cinema and now he's afraid of someone else changing it. And I really think that is part of it.
Yes. And well, and not only that, but I think it's also he's trying to find new relevance. I think he's and not saying like he's on some like midlife crisis and he's searching for purpose.
Not George Lucas.
No,
Not that bad.
Well, then you just sell everything you have and there's your purpose.
You're just like, fine, if you don't like what I'm doing, you just have everything.
Yeah, and will you ever make another Star Wars movie, George? No. They don't want me to, so I won't. I'll make Red Wings and it'll flop. So that's exactly what happened. But the thing is like I feel like Spielberg, I feel like he's trying to find a new reason for existence beyond what it is the impact he's already made on the industry. Yeah. And I don't think I understand his fear, but I think it's a little bit, it is a little bit stale and it's a little bit, I hate to say it, but it is like Grumpy Old Men. It's like, dude, you're really showing your colors here of how old you are. Yeah. Because this should be something that I think of Peter Jackson. Yeah. Somebody who came in and it's like he made the Hobbit trilogy, 48 frames per second. Yeah. 3D, IMAX. And it's like he was looking for new ways to innovate, new ways to change the industry. He wasn't trying to just resort back to what it is he'd done before. He was trying to find new ways within the medium to revolutionize it. And it's like, I wish Spielberg would do the same. It's not that he's a terrible filmmaker or that he's washed up and old. It's like, no, he could still make a good movie, but it's like, find new ways. I mean, even the Passion Project, we just reviewed our first our first ever documentary and 4 stars at that with
They Shall Not Grow
They Shall Not Grow Old.
Yeah, that's
and it's
brilliant.
like that was a passion project for Peter Jackson, and yet he took that and created something out of it because that was where his heart was. And it was like he's never looked at the film industry as, well, there's all these barriers that are keeping me from doing that was exactly how Lord of the Rings came about. It was what was thought to have been impossible.
It wasn't.
And let's go out there.
I
and
can't
achieve
do that. It's like I'm going to find it. Well, the same thing with before George Lucas went crazy with Star Wars. There was not a way to do that until he created a way to make these movies. And that's what good innovators do. They don't say, "Well, I guess I'll wait until the technology comes along."
Exactly.
Cameron. They said, "Okay,
how still look like crap."
I was like,
the novies still suck.
I know.
no,
Can't wait for Avatar 4, 5, and 6,
They
and
say
7, and
no.
8.
We can't do this, so I'm going to find a way to make it happen. And and then that's the thing that's so crazy, because that's how Spielberg used to be. When he made movies and revolutionized the industry, he said, "How do we do this? I'll find a way."
Yeah, life finds a way.
And now, there you go. To quote a Spielberg movie.
I know it. I think we quote Jeff
apologize.
Goldblum like more than anybody else.
Well, Jeff Goldblum, he's just so quotable.
Well, it's always that movie though.
Yeah.
It's always Jurassic Park.
It's only
There's so many
Jurassic
good
Park.
lines in that.
There you have
so
it.
many good lines. There you have. Well, there it is.
there it is.
When you gotta go, you
but
gotta go.
It's just like when sound came, Hollywood fought it. When color came, Hollywood fought it. It's like every major change, like we can't do this. We don't. And it's so crazy. You would think at one point they'd realize we should embrace new technology and use it to make our industry better. Not, oh no, we've never done that. We can't do it.
Exactly. No, absolutely. Yeah. And I think ultimately, I really do think the support that, I mean, he went to the Academy Board because obviously he has some pull there. He is a member of the board.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he's a huge name.
But the thing is I really do think ultimately it's futile. I don't think this is going to lead to anything. I think you have enough people in the industry and enough of the newer up and comers that ultimately, truth be told, I think they're really what mainly are driving Hollywood right now. They're the reasons why. I mean, and also I give credit.
They'll change the rules and then they'll walk it back like they've been doing.
True.
2 weeks later, they'll walk it back.
It's like, okay, we're not going to let Netflix be eligible anymore. And then when they see how ticked people get, they're like, okay, Netflix is now eligible again.
Exactly.
Let's move on to something else.
I do think that they will. Ultimately, it'll die down. This has always happened over the last couple of award seasons, but I really do think you're seeing a wave of newer independent artists come in that are making the louder noises in the industry, that are going to keep bringing forth, like you said, all of these older forms of technology that ended up becoming the standard and ushered in this new way of telling stories. It's like we're not going to be able to refute that for long, and I think Netflix and streaming services all across the board are, I mean, they're part of that change, and we can't do anything but, I think, applaud them. And obviously, I mean, that's where the audiences are going.
Roll with the changes.
Exactly. So, guys, I think that was a good topic of the week. So, screw you, Spielberg. Screw you.
He's still better than James Cameron, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. I would agree with that. I'll take Spielberg. I mean, look, he's still a great filmmaker.
Yeah.
And I used to hate him just out of spite.
You were just jealous.
I was jealous.
You were where he is now.
I didn't realize a lot of the film techniques that I implemented in my own films were from him.
Yeah.
And then when I finally realized that, I was like, wow, I'm an idiot. Because a lot of the techniques I picked up
you
were from
learned.
him.
So maybe Spielberg will learn when it comes to Netflix.
We can only hope. All right, guys, are y'all ready to move on to our unique weekly segment? Do y'all know what it is this week?
I know what it is.
You know what it is?
I know what it is. I can see the notes.
Oh, well, it's
yeah,
good.
You give us. Oh man.
Let's get into our unique weekly segment, relationships.
I just discussed.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Aww. That's right, guys. It's relationships.
I love that introduction.
Don't you just love
That
it?
was
Takes me
nice.
back to kindergarten.
Yeah, he was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so cute.
You heard that in kindergarten?
Mm-hmm.
You really?
No, the drawings. And
I
stuff,
actually
like
knew
the crown.
Somebody
and
at
all
work
that
the
stuff.
other day was saying they had never heard this song.
Really?
And I'm like, are you serious? You've never heard that song?
I'm old.
I'm serious.
I things like that like always just like blow my mind when like I think I told you all the story about like the server, the teenage waitress that like found a CD of Rod Stewart sitting on like one of her shelves and was like, "Who's this?" They said, "Who's this woman?" And I'm like, what?
Oh,
Whoa.
She thought it was a girl, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's Rod Stewart. What?
yeah. In her defense, back in his day, he was kind of feminine.
Yeah, well, back in his day, he's still not.
He still is. It's true.
But still, I was
when you
just
hear him
like,
sing, though, that raspy voice, like
I know.
Maggie May.
They used
But
to
I was just
say,
like, who doesn't know
used
who?
to
Forever
say gargled
Young?
bleach to get his voice that way. That's the old rumor.
No,
it's not true. It was like an old
that's like
rumor,
the
though.
whole, Marilyn Manson removing a rib thing. That's
yeah,
fake.
no, he did that. I saw it.
That's
I've seen the video.
what's that one that's going around on YouTube now? MoMA? Or
Momo.
Momo.
It's Momo.
It doesn't even
That's
really
a Momo.
exist.
That's a
Yeah.
Momo.
It was a
Yeah.
hoax that
Yeah.
just so great. I love when that happens on the internet. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have to sit
I mean,
back
that's
and
what
watch
it's best
people
for.
be
Yeah.
stupid.
True.
So, guys, our relationship segment, it's already popped up down there in the corner. This is a pretty heavy topic. I guess we could get into. I don't know if we've ever discussed this.
I don't think we have.
We haven't. So we're gonna
Yeah.
just dive right into
This
it.
is gonna be interesting.
Who was your first love?
Oh,
Ooh, does anybody want to start?
I'm not starting.
No,
You're-
this is all you, Brandon.
No, but y'all have one. Y'all better not leave me hanging. Y'all have got one, right?
I
You
mean,
better
I've
have
had
one.
I don't know. I mean, I've had relationships that I guess. I mean,
But have you had a first love? Like your first love? You don't have a
I have to
first
think
love?
about this one.
Okay, what about you, Sean? Do you have one? You don't have to go first. I'll go first.
I thought about this when you sent the notes and everything to us a couple of days ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not what you're gonna think. But I have had past relationships, but and I think in one relationship I threw the word love out. But real love, I'm married to it right now.
Okay.
And I'll tell you
Such
why.
a
So,
good
so real
answer.
quick. So what
Let
you're
me-
saying
such a
is
good
just let me
answer.
distinguish. It's not love. It was infatuation.
It was infatuation.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, and I'll distinguish it real quick. Love is patient. Love is kind. It doesn't envy. It doesn't boast. It is not proud. Does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. I could go on and
First
on.
Corinthians
with 13.
13. It's
But
repeated at every wedding.
That
Every
I agree, but
Yeah.
that kind of love I didn't have until I met my wife. So there was the infatuation
Is she
kind
watch-
of
is
love.
she watching right
I
now?
don't really know.
Well, we're going off
Probably
that.
not.
No, I've never had that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So when you put it out there, you've got to consider the real meaning of
Right.
the word. And
Now-
if you're talking about real love,
Right.
I'm married to my first love, but
Ooh.
there's
I like
other
that. I do
relationships
like
that
that.
I've said I love you, and then I got in their
Well,
pants.
and there's different kinds
So that was
of love.
that was the reason I used the word. I mean that was what I was thinking at the time that
Yeah.
I said it was like, what do I gotta say
to get
there
get where I wanna go.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm being honest as a man.
that is
so I threw
honesty.
the word out, but my wife, she made me wait. So I said the word a long time before the honeymoon
And
phase.
she still smacked her and
And-
said, no, not yet.
Not at all. No. So, but yes, that kind of love.
Yep.
I'm married to it right now.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
first love.
That was beautiful.
That was your first love, and that's
Mic drop. Now you top that.
go, Keith.
Okay, I don't have.
No.
I don't have that.
You don't have.
I don't have that.
Okay, here's the thing. For one, the First Corinthians 13. I just will start with that because
Yeah,
I don't
give
have
it
any qualms with that passage, but I do hear it said a lot of times. Which, for one, I know what you mean by it when
Yeah.
you read that passage.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times it's taken out of context in
I
terms
agree.
of
I think
what
it's
it
one of
really
the-
stands for in terms of that's a general sense of love, which is why I was going to say, like, I think there's different kinds of love. You
Yeah,
know, there's a
absolutely.
romantic love, a friendly love.
Yeah.
And it's
There's
like,
the love we share.
absolutely,
Yes.
Keith. I can't deny that at all.
Yeah.
We've shared it for 28 years.
Mm.
Should we come out on our first live podcast? No. So I wasn't your first love.
Oh man.
Oh man.
You just shattered my heart.
Hearts are
I'm
breaking.
gonna go this way now.
Nobody could see you. You're off camera.
That's okay.
So no. So the thing is to distinguish the difference between your first love is I just kind of like that puppy love and the first time your heart kind of gets sinks to the bottom of your stomach.
I think
and-
that first major crush definitely that
Yeah.
I was just like completely like just infatuated and focused on that.
Ooh,
on that person.
okay, yeah, that counts.
And yeah, no, I mean I do. I think everybody. I mean, I don't know. You have to have that at some point if you're wanting
Human?
to get into it. Yeah, I mean, I don't, unless you
would
just
agree.
don't, I mean, unless
If
you
you're
just like, it's like Ted Bundy or something where it's like you don't have. I don't
he
know.
loved every bit of what he was doing.
Yeah. He loves
It's true. He loved what he was doing. But I mean, he loved what who he was doing it to.
Oh, yeah.
We're definitely not talking about that kind of first love.
I hope
That
not.
is not the turn I wanted to
No,
take.
no.
So, okay, so then go ahead with who your first love was. Do you have that person? Do you know it?
You can't name them.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not
Continue.
going to name drop them.
Oh, would they be listening or watching?
Oh,
or
he's
maybe
listening.
someday.
Yeah. He's sitting across from me right now.
Yeah, I mean, we got matching shirts.
It's
I
him?
mean, hell,
Why
we
him?
matched when we came.
What?
here.
Yeah. Why do you like? How do you think this happened?
Yeah.
Brandon?
I'm
No,
not gonna
I
lie.
mean-
I do love the fact that y'all
We
wore
went
those.
shopping together and we dressed the same. And
It
It
can
was,
be
it
so
was somebody
jealous.
like I knew in middle school and then like in high school too, so it kind of carried over.
I think I know who it is. Do I know who this is?
I would imagine.
Can I say
so.
what the letter is, and you can say yay or nay?
Jeez.
I guess
Starts with a B.
no.
Okay, never mind.
I don't. I don't even know.
I don't know.
I don't think I've ever liked anybody that starts with a B, so I'm not sure who.
Oh, I know. You name dropped her. I'll name drop it off the podcast. I won't. I won't.
Yeah, no, I'm just not.
I
I'm
won't
not sure
put
who-
you on the spot.
I'm not sure who
Wow.
you're talking about, but yeah, it's not that person.
Not
because
that
This one
person.
don't start with a B.
Okay. Can you tell us what it starts with?
No.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So then.
But no, I mean, yeah, I mean, it just, and we did date for a little while. But
okay.
I don't know. It was weird. Like I think the infatuation and the wanting to date was stronger because then when the dating happened, it was not there at all. It really wasn't. And
That's when
we
you
did-
realized it
and we
wasn't.
didn't date long. But I was just like, yeah, this. I don't know. Like,
Was
I
your
don't
heart
know.
broken, or was it a mutual like breakup?
I think I was. She actually broke up with me, but it was something that like,
Start with an A.
yeah.
That's it. I
Um,
know it
yeah,
too.
Sean
Yeah.
knows. But I
Figured
was
it
just, it was one of those things where like it was always kind of awkward, I guess, because it just
Yeah.
wasn't there. And then when it happened, like I don't know, I think I was a little bit embarrassed, but at the same time, I was kind of relieved because I was like, yeah, this was not working. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where like when you have like that kind of first crush and you're really infatuated with somebody and you think, oh, this is going to be great, and like you're just like. And then when you realize, that that's not true love, that it's just whatever it was, it's kind of like, yeah, this, I don't know. It just,
You move
it kind
on.
of fizzled. And
You
yeah,
move
did.
on, and
You
you're
move on, and
okay
then
with the
there
fact
was
that
other relationships after that were just so much,
Right.
like still, they weren't the one, but
Yeah.
so much more.
Well, I mean,
like,
the first
fulfilling, a
one,
lot better,
the first
know.
time you have that connection, you think that it's love.
Yeah.
And then you have something better with someone else, and you're like, oh, this is love.
Yes.
That wasn't real love.
Yes.
And then and I think that progresses
Yeah.
with your relationships depending on
Well, I
how
think
many
that's
there are.
that's
But
kind of what
And not
relationships
to,
are
like,
about.
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
not to
that's-
knock
yeah.
that first one, but like every relationship that came after was just so much better. Which I mean, that kind of should be. I mean, I'm not like I said, I'm not trying to trash, but I mean, it
No,
was just
no,
so
no,
much
no, of
better
course not,
after
of course
because
not.
it was just never meant to be to begin with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's it's like you were saying, Sean. I mean, that's what relationships are. You're figuring things out
Yeah.
as you're going
Yeah.
through them, and you're kind of trying to figure out, if this is worth fighting for, and if this is somebody I truly love. And that's why I think a lot of people take the 1 Corinthians out of context, is because it's like that's kind of more of a general census of what love is for, you share to your common man and to people around you. Whereas it's like, I think it's a much deeper soul love that you have with someone like your wife.
Yeah.
And somebody that you share with, that it's like, there's just, it's at such a deeper level there that you don't, it's uncomparable. And the
Yeah.
more and more
Yeah.
time that you do spend with that person and you build your life together, the deeper that relationship
love,
grows,
yeah.
and the
Yeah.
more in love, yes, you become.
Yeah.
And that's when I think you realize at that point that you truly, like you said, you're in love, and that's what
not
separates.
not just an infatuation or a crush.
Right.
Which is kind of what I think like earlier relationships were just that.
Right.
Thank God they didn't work out. So-
Well, and I was gonna say, I mean, at least you come to that realization.
Oh, yeah.
Is ultimately
Yeah.
figuring out why that relationship failed, and then realizing, for one, how you grew from it, but also hoping that you didn't make the mistakes that you could have possibly
So
prevented.
enough of the analyzing me and Keith.
Yeah,
Let's,
yeah.
let's move to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. He likes to hear from us because like I'm a pretty close person. I don't share a lot, and then I mean, So like I know for one he loves to hear it from me. He likes to
Share
get it out of me because he
everything with
wants.
me, though.
Yes, everything. But I know he likes to pull that out of me, and then he loves hearing other people's stories. But everybody always hears Brandon's stories, so I think that's why he's more interested in others because he freely gives it. Like he just lets
Freely
everybody.
gives it.
He just
I freely I freely
gives
give
it.
it the emotional distress in my life to all of our watchers and listeners.
And they're great stories. I love listening to Brandon's
Well,
stories. They're
yeah.
always
Let's hear one.
entertaining.
All right. So here's the thing. I thought about this because I think you know which one it is.
I mean, there's a couple.
A couple first loves?
I don't
Okay.
know that I can think of.
All right,
Might
well, here's
be
the thing.
it.
I was trying to think about how to go about this because I really didn't know. And I was like, one way I could go about it was the first love that I have is kind of like an example of what I aspire or what I would hope my love, my
See,
real
that's what I'm
love,
saying.
my
You
life
yourself are
aspires
already
to.
thinking about the
I
different
know.
ones.
I overthink this stuff, and I do. It's like, so I was trying
Well,
to
I know
figure
the
out.
one you're referencing there.
Yeah, you do?
I think I do.
Okay, what does it start with? Do you know?
Well, I can't remember her name, but
Oh,
is it
okay.
the wallet?
Yes,
thing?
it is.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So yeah.
We'll get there.
I don't
And then, of
have any
course,
clue
the
what
other
her name
one
is
was,
anymore.
yes, a train ride to San Antonio was all a part of history in terms of the romantic world of Brandon and who I fell in love with there.
Sounds like the beginning of a movie or something.
It was.
There's only 4 people that I would say like could be significantly like who you're thinking. So those were 2 of the 4 I was thinking of.
I didn't know
so.
there were 4.
Well,
That kind of shocks
the
me. I
other
only
2
had.
the other 2
I mean, to me,
are
that's why I
so.
said-
I say the other 2 are so late in your relationship that I didn't think it would be them, but I thought maybe the other ones he just really wasn't that into as much. I don't know.
I'd love to talk about
Yeah,
this
we will,
afterward
we will.
because I
But
don't
go ahead,
know
finish
the-
your
Oh, yeah.
story.
So the first one, yes, her name was Megan Jones. Megan Jones, name dropper because hey, if she's on Facebook, hey, who knows?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me put our social up.
Like
Let's
us,
see.
Megan.
Go
if
to
you're
go
out
to
there.
Red Moon Book down there.
We got
Like our page. Maybe maybe she'll pop up on Facebook and I'll meet her someday. No, so Megan Jones was this girl we met at camp. It was at a church camp.
Of course.
Where all
Of
romances
course.
bloom.
You're supposed to be infatuated with God at church camp, but you
Hey.
leave infatuated with somebody
And
else.
you know what? They read 1 Corinthians 13.
They
Are
did.
you serious? No, they
They
didn't.
better not have.
And I took it out of context.
Yeah.
And so I saw Megan when
I mean,
they read
it's-
it, and I
it's-
thought
Yeah.
she's the one.
it's church camp. They always read 1 Corinthians.
Yeah. Oh no! It's church camp. Therefore, everybody who goes to church camp knows you're supposed to fall in love
That's
with a
true.
godly woman.
That's true.
Exactly.
I
mean,
took
it's-
kids to camp. I
she-
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
was out of his league for multiple reasons.
Well, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. So the
She's
main
like
reasons were she was like 18 and I was 14, 13,
Yeah,
yeah,
something
that's a
like
good
that.
one.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was out of my
That
league.
was never going to happen.
But
you know.
she was our small group leader.
Oh.
She was in college.
Hot
she was
teacher.
teaching us, the Bible.
teaching us about adultery. No, I'm just kidding. So like she was teaching us, our small group.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had 2 co-teachers. The other one, she was okay, but she was kind of more like by the book. This girl had a personality.
Excuse me.
She made you laugh. She'd crack jokes, and it was like, oh, she's cute. Kind of took to her.
Yeah.
So
At 14 years old, a strong wind will turn you on. So
whoa, yeah,
on now.
It's true. I wasn't there yet.
okay,
I wasn't there yet. I was I've always been.
a late
That
bloomer.
weird-
Yeah,
No.
that's what it sounded like. He was like, I've always been a late
always
bloomer.
No, I've always been very. I've always.
See, we always get the truth out of him.
Yes.
I hate this. No, I do. Okay, so I do. I hate it, but I love it. I always feel like this has always been a passion for me is trying to find the right one. It's just I've been one of those weird kids who's been trying to find the right one and who to marry since I was like in middle school. And I'm not going to date until I'm ready for marriage.
It's
That was
true.
always my goal.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I had this small group, and I was obviously very passionate about movie making and filmmaking, and I'd wrote this huge script at the time that was called Destiny. Yes, before the game ever came out.
Yeah.
And it was like 180 pages. This thing was massive. It was a huge script, and I was super proud of it. It's written terribly. I mean, you can go back and read it. I mean,
It's fun to read.
It's awful. But I gave this script to her because I carried it around with me everywhere. And of course, that's
Took
my
it to
claim
church
fame.
camp with him.
Exactly.
You were going to show off.
Yeah, I mean, you never know
Yeah.
where you're going to find buyers.
This
Yeah.
18-year-old girl,
Yeah.
he hands her this script. Is like,
Yep.
I
There you
want
go.
you to read this. And
So
it's
it was originally going to be a Lifeway Christian bookstore movie.
yes, exactly. Oh man, and it would be we're
heavily
talking-
inspired by Final Fantasy.
The thing is it would be epic. It would be an epic. Okay, anyways. So I give her this script, and I'm like, hey, I wrote this script. Of course, she's just like, wow, that's amazing. And she's probably like,
Nerd.
weirdo. no alert. But she's indulging me. She's happy. She's just like, oh, this is so cool.
She was
I'll
being
read
a
it.
good youth leader.
So like she took it home with her, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, she's gonna read my script. I can't believe this is amazing. And then I ended up meeting up with her like one of the other days in the small group, and it was like the last day of camp. She handed me back the script, and she was just like, oh, I had a question, like, and she asked me something about the script, and I was like, she read it. She actually, and it was like maybe 15 pages in.
Yeah.
So she
Again, perused it.
Yeah, she threw me a bone. I appreciated it. Very sweet. But then I was walking away, and I was just really happy with her having, read my script and having spent the time with her. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And she came up to me right before we left, right before we were getting in the van to go, to like depart. And she was like, oh, hey, I forgot. This was supposed to be in the script, but it fell out. And so I was like, oh, okay. So she gave me this little note. And I'm not going to tell you what the note said. I'm not going to read the note. But it was a sweet note. And it was just one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, she cares about me. Like, wow, she actually has feelings for me. And it's like, she was this 18-year-old girl at church camp. Mm-hmm. She had like a pastor, or it was a youth minister boyfriend. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, so she's good with God, and she's like a godly woman. And like, this is who I want to be with. So I immediately was just like, well, if I can't be with her, I was like, I want to be with a woman like her. So I kept this letter in my wallet as a reminder of the type of woman that I was looking for in my life.
Nice.
And I still have the letter to this day.
Is your wallet in there on the counter?
No.
Oh.
I burned it. So yes, I still have it in there.
Can you even read it anymore?
Yes. Well, no, you can't. It's actually been through the wash a couple of times.
Pages are stuck together.
Yeah, I mean, it's really faint. But I actually, I can pick it out enough that I memorized it. Yeah. I don't memorize it by heart, but I can read it and be like, oh, yeah, that's what it says. And she had this nickname for me. She called me Dawson.
Like Dawson's Creek?
Dawson's Creek, because he was a filmmaker. So obviously, you see, I'm eating out of the palm of her hand. I'm just sitting here, and I'm just like, I'm falling ever more for her. But anyway, so I kept that letter. That was my, like, I think, first love, because of the fact that obviously it stuck with me. And, I thought, hey, all right, this is somebody who this is the type of person I want to meet someday and I want to settle down with. Okay. That would be an example of my first love. So I don't know if that was worthy.
That was good.
It was good?
That was good.
Right. Usually, Sean, you come back with like
for the end.
A better story.
I don't have one.
You don't?
Nope.
It's just your wife.
That's it.
Excuse me.
I had to break the silence somehow.
That's how Amelia really makes you feel sometimes.
Yeah, she gets me all choked up.
Good comeback. All right, that was good. All right, but then and then the cat fiasco. That's a whole nother story.
What's that about love?
That was infatuation. That was. But hey, we're good. We're good on terms. We're good friends. Good. Maybe she's tuning in tonight. Hey, cat. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know. But no, we're still good friends, and that was like that was probably the first real heartfelt love that I ever, talking on the phone till late at night. Yeah. And you're of course, that was the first girl and I've ever said I love you to. So that's a big deal. And it's like, yeah, when you drop those words, you're like, I think I even said them once accidentally, and she was just like, do you mean it? And when she said, do you mean it? I was like, yes. Like,
you had to think about it?
Well, no, I didn't have to think about it. I was like, oh crap, she's taking this like really, yes. And I was like, well,
those are some pretty major words to be dropping.
I know, but I guess it never hit me until it hit her. And then I was like, well, crap, now I can't stop saying it because now she's going to be upset that I don't say it. So yeah, of course, I kept going back to I love you.
It always means more, I think, to the female. Not to say that guys don't.
It depends. It depends, I think, on the circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. But in that mindset, you weren't, you just thought it was something to say, and then when you said it, you're like, "Crap, this actually means something."
No, absolutely. It was definitely one of those moments where,
in Sean's case, he's like, "Hey, if it gets me where I want to go."
Yeah. Well, and for a lot of people,
that's how it is. That's how, unfortunately, some young men think until they mature. So
absolutely,
exactly.
But the thing is of course, I just think it's an interesting topic because I of course agree with you, Sean, that hopefully it's like, as you grow throughout relationships and you have those who come and go and pass in your life, it's like you're always hoping that they leave a positive impact on you.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's like regardless of what bad may have happened or what ultimately why the relationship might have ended. Ultimately, you're hoping that it's not, all for the worse. I mean, you never want to end a relationship such a way that it's like you regret ever being with that person, or you want to move on to something bigger and better. And you hopefully wish that for the other person. Sometimes you don't. But that's
I hope you fall off a cliff.
No, some people
die.
do. Yeah.
I wasn't going that far, but
Well, I mean, if they're going to fall off a cliff, they might as well die. I mean, you don't want to live with a broken spine and legs.
Yeah, I
and
was
all
going to say, then they're just suffering.
Yeah.
Yours is far
that. Yeah,
worse.
then they're Stephen Hawking. You don't want that. You don't want that.
All right, guys. Oh my gosh.
our-
Does that conclude our first ever episode?
I think
no
we're
email
wrapping
this week?
thing
Oh,
up.
man.
I think we
This
are
is
wrapping this
crazy.
thing up. But you know what? I can't go without saying, because we didn't receive one this week.
No.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. There's always next week,
All
and
those
there's
people
plenty more
watching
shows.
us,
Yeah.
actually watching us. If you have a question, please send us an email.
Send
How
us
would
an
they
email.
do that if they were going to do it?
You know what? It's funny because if they look right in the bottom of their screen,
Oh, it's
right
there.
there,
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
they can email us at
Gorgeous.
rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Yeah, but see, my thing is to always ask you twice, and now that it's there on the screen where everybody can see it, I kind of feel like been stripped.
No,
of one of
because
my
because
jobs.
remember, we still have audio listeners too. We
yeah,
can't
that's true.
ignore them
True.
either.
Yes, yes.
Tomorrow morning, this is going to go. You can download our podcast
As
and listen
normal.
to it.
Yeah, as
Absolutely.
normal. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was going to say,
And
yeah,
someone
don't
actually
forget.
asked us about that earlier this week. And
Neil's
they were worried,
fiance.
Yeah, she was worried that she wouldn't be able to listen to it on her way
Yes,
to
she
work.
was.
And oh yes,
It's because I don't
sweetheart,
think
you
she
can.
got to watch the whole thing. It was past her bedtime a little, so now
Yeah,
she can listen
she's
to the rest.
probably
yeah.
in bed
She's
right
probably
now.
in
Yeah.
bed.
It's like 3 minutes past, I think.
Oh,
6 minutes.
get to
yeah.
bed, Megan. Don't
Yeah.
stay up, even though we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
Get to bed.
This is our shortest show, by the way.
But I think
Pretty short.
when you're live, we understand the people out there that's like they
Yep.
only want so much of us.
That's true.
Maybe they
You
can
can
get
only
more.
look at.
I could say I can
this.
only look at us for so long, like,
Yeah.
and I'm, myself,
Which-
so
I'm loving the ponytail though. By the way,
Hold on,
it's
show
not
us
quite
that.
a
Keith.
ponytail
Show us
thing.
that.
You
We
flip-
got to
can
give
you
the
flip
list. We got to
around?
give the viewers something.
I like it. I like it.
Got the little big boss from Metal Gear thing
Yes.
going. Yeah.
Yes.
We're still working on our look. It's like you got your rat tail.
I'm not wearing this shirt
Don't do that
again.
Please don't.
But I need someone to get me a moon shirt.
You know
that's
what we
gonna
can.
have
You
to.
know
Until
what
I
they
have
can
the moon
do.
shirt, I'm gonna have this.
You know what they can do? They can email us and tell us what they want us to wear, and maybe it'll be nothing.
No.
I am
can't do
open
that.
for the email us and
Email
tell
us
us what you
and
want.
tell us what you
I'm
want
not
us to wear.
guaranteed we'll wear it, but I do want to kind of see what they. I don't know. I'm half tempted to be like, I will wear whatever you put on there.
What if it's nothing? I mean, that's always the question. What
Well,
if
we can't.
Yeah.
We can't do nothing because we have to keep it, PG.
Well, it's only from the shoulder up. So
You could be naked from the shoulder up.
it's true.
Why not?
be an interesting shirt that just.
But you know what?
cuts off
Email
right
us.
there.
Tell us what you want to see.
Yeah.
Tell us if you want to hear a certain song at the beginning of our show.
Yes.
We're
we
going to
take
try
requests.
to give you new music each week, let you know some things we're listening to, but
Mhm.
also we'd love to hear from you what you're listening to out there. And if we like it, we'll throw it in at the beginning of the show to grace you with our musical expertise.
Man, we're just whoring ourselves
Of
out
course
to
we
everybody
are.
right now.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
All right.
Again, RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Bottom of the screen.
At the bottom of the
Yeah,
screen.
at
It's
the
right
bottom
down
screen.
there right
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
So until next time, guys, I can't believe this. We've done it. This is our show. Our first live show ever.
Yeah. Thank
So
you all for
happy.
watching.
So happy that you all tuned in out there each week, every day,
Every
Thursday,
Thursday.
9 p.m.
9 p.m.
Eastern. We're going to be back here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Again, you can go out there and see us at all of our social media, Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics on Instagram. Go out there, subscribe to us, follow us. We need all the likes we can
And
get,
again,
all the shares we can get.
If
We
you
want to
miss-
grow,
or say-
Pete.
And again, if you missed the live show, you can always catch us. Just download our podcast on your podcast app.
Every Friday, it's available. Right after we get done here, you can go back and rewatch this video as well. So until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Keith Cheatham, Squatty Lumpy Prism Falcon, Celestial Falling Shatter Crouching Boomer.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.